Hello, and welcome to the FEAD program strategic sales series powered by Boost Strategic Coaching. We are on module 1, finding your markets. Today, we're going to start by identifying the target audiences that you need to focus on in your business. Why are we starting with this topic? Well, unless we first identify who we are serving or communicating with, it is impossible to build an effective sales or marketing strategy, and we'll discover why as we go. Today, we're going to cover defining your offer, determining your audiences, identifying watering holes, and we're going to explore the relationship between sales and marketing. First thing we need to do is change our thinking about what selling really is. Now, for you, this might not be a problem for you, but a lot of people really struggle with the word sales. Selling is not bamboozling or twisting someone's arm, and it doesn't have to be forced. Selling is also not all fireworks and unicorns. It doesn't have to be complicated. And that's often why we feel yucky when we realize we need to start selling. We need to start telling people what we do for a living or what product or service we sell. Because there is that negative connotation around sales that we've all heard over the years. And they're rightfully so, because some sales professionals have certainly given it a bad name. But remember, selling is simply connecting what you do with people who need what you do. You got into this business because you have something people want or need. It is your job to just let them know that you're here for them in this way, that this product is available for them. And when we start thinking about selling in this way, it gets a lot more comfortable. Also, it doesn't have to be fireworks and unicorns, simply meaning, it can be straightforward. Clarity trumps creativity and fireworks every time. And that applies to both sales and marketing. And so throughout this program, I want to make sure that you feel comfortable with this, you feel confident, you feel clear, and that you don't feel like you have to have the unicorns. You just need to know who you are, what you're doing, who you're serving, and what problem you solve for them. So now that we've established that selling doesn't have to be yucky, it is simply a transfer of information to those who would benefit from knowing. Let's get into some details. I want to start by having you ask yourself, what am I selling? It sounds like a simple, kind of silly question for me to be asking you, but clarity is often lost right here. And why is that? Well, it's hard to read the label from inside the bottle. You know so much about your business and your product that it's hard to look at it from the outside and see what the customer or partner sees, or pick the information that the customer really needs to get from you in order to be persuaded to buy from you or to do business with you. Okay. You know so many details. You know the background, the what, the why you got into the business, all the technical side of what you do and how things are made and where they're sourced and all those things. And so all of us as marketers often give our client or our audience way too much. And by giving them way too much, we make it complicated and we sometimes lose them. So we really have to start looking at it from outside the bottle and see which parts of our information about our business do we really need others to hear from us. What do we really need to get across to them? The other reason clarity is often lost when we're trying to connect with our markets is because we often end up focusing on the features when we really should be focusing on the benefits. We talk about the why. We should be talking about the why more than the what. For example, say you're a jewelry store. Jewelry stores sell rocks. They sell tiny little rocks for a whole bunch of money. The what would be the cut, color, clarity, and carat of the diamond ring. That is the very fact-based information that we have on what they sell. But really, what people are buying from a jewelry store is the look on her face when I get down on one knee and ask her to marry me. We are buying the why from the jewelry store. We make this decision with our heart, and then we justify it with our mind. We justify it with cut, color, clarity, and carat, but really it's emotion that brought us to spend a few $1,000s on a tiny little rock. So that's the why, not the what. To put it another way, we often don't put enough focus on the problem we solve for our audience. So, are you going to make me smarter, cooler, richer, healthier? Are you going to give me more time back, save me some money? Is it a quick grab product? Is it something that does save me time, or it's healthier than what I would make? There's so many different things that are the why, that are the benefit, but we often just talk about the thing and the features. Now, we need to talk about the why because, me as your customer, I'm selfish, not because I'm a bad person, but because I'm busy, as everyone is. So you need to get clear to me as quickly as possible. What's in it for me to sit up and pay attention and keep listening to you or consider you? Okay. So now that we've established that we need to figure out what's really needed from our audience and our markets to know what's important about our business to them, and we've understood that we need to talk about the benefits more than the features, next step in our strategy development is to really consider who we are selling to. Who are our target audiences? Every business has to get clear on who your ideal customers and partners and other audiences are before any marketing efforts will pay off to their full potential. When asked who your customers are, do you say, well, I can sell to anyone, I can work with anyone can be my customer? There is a chance that this could be true. Anyone could buy from you. And it's understandable to say that because we don't want to leave anyone out. But the problem is, when we're trying to be everything to everybody in our marketing, we end up being nothing to anybody. How the heck do you create marketing or sales strategy to appeal to and reach everybody? You don't have the budget to do that. And also, what would you say to them all that would appeal to every single type of person? It's impossible. So for your sanity and focus, it's important to determine which audiences you will be focusing on. And I'll give you an example of that. So I first published my book, Hands-On Marketing, The Small Business Owner's Guide to Advertising and Branding, after working for 16 years in media advertising sales. When I was looking for an editor, I was weeding through dozens of profiles of various editors who expressed interest in the job. I heard from someone who said she does illustrations for children's books and edits children's books and can edit nonfiction. That really did not give me any confidence because I needed someone who could take my writing. Now, I was an advertising consultant, not a writer, and I really needed a good editor who could refine what I had to say into something that business owners could really take and apply. I needed someone who I felt would truly understand my topic and be able to enhance it. The editor I hired was a no-brainer. She shared with me that she worked specifically with nonfiction business book writers to ensure that their book content was as clear and easy to apply as possible. Now, I had to wait longer for her and pay more for her service than some of the other applicants, but there was no doubt in my mind that she was the right editor for my project. Why? Well, because she had chosen me as her target audience, and in doing this, she gave me confidence that she could serve my needs the best. So how do we decide who to sell to? Well, we focus on niche markets. That's the target audiences that we are going to talk about when it comes to your end user, your end consumer. A niche market is simply a targeted customer group that is big enough that there will be enough business for you there, small enough that you could become known as a go-to in that niche, and big enough that it'll always replenish itself. So there's always new people entering that niche. It's not finite. Common mistakes when professionals make or business owners make when marketing is saying our products are perfect for anyone, right? I mentioned that. So if we're trying to be everything to anyone, we end up being nothing to everyone, and our message doesn't hit with anyone. So that's a big mistake that people make, is just trying to just capture everyone with our messaging. Another mistake is that we confuse our product offerings with our customer groups. So if I said to you, I want you to tell me about 3 niche markets, pick 3 niche markets for your product. If you said my 3 niches are single serving, bulk, and combo packs, those aren't niches, they're product offerings, okay? Niches are the actual groups of humans, the customer groups that you want to market to. And hopefully people from any of the niches that you choose could take advantage of multiple product offerings. Okay. Another problem or another mistake people make is being too broad while choosing niches. So for example, you wouldn't want to just say adults or families. We need to be a little more specific, because how do you reach all adults? How do you reach all families? So, you could consider what age, income level, occupation, etc. But on the other side, though, sometimes we can get too narrow. So, for example, if you decided that your niche was going to be vegans from Priestville, Saskatchewan, there may not be enough prospects there to support your business. Okay. So I want you to take a moment and write down like the top 3 niche markets that you can think of for your product or your business. What are your top 3 niches? You may already see lots of people buying from those markets and you've just never fully defined them, or you may have chosen one. But I do encourage you to consider up to 3 niches that could be ideal customers for your product. So let's talk about some examples of niche markets that you might have for your product. For example, if you have organic or non-GMO products, you might choose health-conscious consumers, families with young children, and individuals with food allergies or sensitivities. Okay, they will be buying the same thing from you, but they all have kind of a different motivation to buy from you. And so we'll get into how we can speak to those specific motivations later on in the program. Another example is if you sell ready-to-eat meals and convenience foods. You may choose busy professionals, university students, and young families looking for quick and easy meal solutions. All right, so your busy professionals need to hear something different than your university students. Your university students may just not have a kitchen or a fridge or anything like that, so they might need to hear different words. And young families, you want to hear that it's kid-friendly, all those different things. So you can see how, even though ready-to-eat meals and convenience foods are going to be purchased by all 3 groups, they are all slightly different and would be communicated with differently. Now, I want to talk, so that's your niche markets for your consumers, the people that will actually buy and consume your goods. But I also want you to keep in mind that you're selling to more groups than just your end consumers, aren't you? A lot of entrepreneurs forget that these are audiences that we need to figure out our messaging to as well. So let's consider all the audiences that you're selling something to. So for some, you're selling the product, but for some, you're selling your partnership. You're selling yourself as a trustworthy business owner to invest in. You might be selling an idea or a concept or trust in your product or your concept. And so here are some of the audiences that you may have to prioritize in your communication and in your sales process. So like I said, obviously consumers, your niche markets, but retailers, grocery stores, suppliers, wholesalers, investors, lenders, and your community. These are all stakeholders in the success of your business. So take just a minute right now and write down your top 3 priorities for which target audiences you need to be effectively communicating with at this time. Is it retailers, consumers, and maybe a lender because you're looking for financing? Who are your top 3? Now, why is it helpful to define our target audiences? Well, first of all, it allows us to focus our time. When we have time to go networking or do some social media posting or connecting with new prospects, where are we going to go? It helps us focus our time because we're going to go to where they are. It allows us to focus our energy. So one of the biggest things we coach is marketing strategy, and entrepreneurs are often overwhelmed by all the ways that they can advertise. So once you've chosen your target audiences, it narrows the choices for marketing right down, and you simply focus your marketing efforts and energy where these groups are and say what they need to hear. It allows you to customize your messaging to be more impactful. So I touched on the fact that, different niches need to hear different things from you. And in the next module, we'll actually dive into how to create compelling messaging for each of the different groups that you're targeting or that you're selling to. And lastly, It makes it easier for champions to champion you. When you can clearly define who you're trying to meet or who you're trying to connect with, your champions can give you better referrals and make better introductions because they know who you're after. All right. So these are all really great reasons for you to think about your target audiences and do some strategy around connecting with them effectively. And there are a ton of benefits to having a clear understanding of who you want to serve. So, for example, you can become the go to for a group of people. If you have an organic line of honey products, if you are connecting with all the people with stores that sell organic product and you become known as the go to, referrals can happen more often because they go, oh, this is your person in this region for this particular type of product. It'll allow you to stand out among your competitors. So, when you have a lot of other people in your space, the fact that you're being consistent with a target audience and you're there day in and day out or week in and week out, you are going to stand out because you're top of mind for people. Another benefit is obviously that you will have more compelling messaging because you will be able to say things that matter to the specific audience you're talking to instead of just having that kind of generic 30-second elevator pitch. And it kind of saves you resources because you will not be wasting time trying to do the scattershot approach and be everywhere. You will know who you're targeting, where you're spending your time and energy and money, and you'll be using it efficiently. Now, what if we don't target markets and we just have the scattershot approach? Well, the biggest problem is that you will end up with a helicopter approach to networking and relationship building because you'll just kind of pop in and out of different sort of circles and you'll never become known among any of your, influential groups. But if you have a focus, then you start to build staying power and you become visible in the circles where you want to be. So you will avoid that helicopter approach to networking and relationship building, and you'll actually have some staying power with some groups. And when we don't focus, then there are fewer referrals, like I said, because people don't know who you're looking for. If you haven't made it clear who you're looking for, then people never think, oh, geez, I really should introduce, you to so-and-so because they just don't even know who you're looking for. All right. So I think that, as we're going through this program together, you're going to keep coming back to your 3 target markets and all of those stakeholders that you have prioritized in this module today. So once you know who you are targeting, the next logical step is to consider, well, where we'll find them. So we're going to go fishing. We know what kind of fish we're fishing for, which is our niche markets, our target markets. And we know what kind of tackle we're going to use. We're going to work on that in the next session, which is our messaging. And then it's time to figure out where we're going to go fishing. We call these watering holes. So watering holes are physical or virtual spaces where groups of your niche market hang out. Depending on the niche markets you've chosen, this could be things like, buying shows. They could be chambers of commerce events. They could be trade shows. They could be conferences. And I'll give you some examples right away here. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Just think of where your people gather in groups and go to them. I know how busy you are as an entrepreneur, and I'd like to make business as simple as possible. So if you can be somewhere where they gather in groups, it's sort of like, feeding many birds with one scone. Instead of having to call and reach out to each prospect, say it's a grocery store, for example, instead of having to call each one of them separately and talk to them each separately, you could be efficient with your time and find them all together. And I mentioned that, watering holes are physical or virtual spaces. And so there are examples of online watering holes that we can be looking at as well, especially if we are looking to connect with markets that are not just in our own trading area. Okay. So I'm going to give you some examples of different places where you might find some of these different target markets. Trade shows and expos, Natural Product Expo, Fancy Food Show, Private Label Manufacturing Association Show. There's lots and lots of different ones. And those are the obvious one. Industry conferences and summits. So there might be, an annual business conference in your industry, specialty associations, food shows, global food forums, all sorts of things like that. Obviously, local markets and fairs. They are, where people are looking for things like what you sell. Industry association gatherings. What professional associations can you think of that you're either part of or that some of your target audience might be part of? You can go as a supplier to their industry association gatherings. Networking events and meetups, again, local chambers of commerce events, industry specific meetups, even online ones. There are often meetups on, through LinkedIn and different things that have grown over the years because it allows us to connect nationally. Incubators and accelerators. There are incubators and accelerators specifically for growing a business like yours. And that is an awesome place to meet colleagues who could introduce you to people, but also suppliers, partners, people who are focused on your industry, who are there as, facilitators or supporters in some way. What better place to meet people who could benefit your business? Again, business conferences, workshops, seminars. What do you want to learn more about in your industry? Go to the expo. You can be there as an exhibitor, but you also can just be there as an attendee. And then you can go up to the exhibitors and shake their hand and meet the people that you want to meet. Retailers and supplier conferences. I mean, my goodness, there's some of the big box retailers that have their own events that you can go to. And industry specific online communities and forums. So again, because people are, we're not limited to our own geographic region anymore. These are popping up all over the place, and it just takes a little bit of searching to find that. But it's very valuable for you. And how do you do this? Well, you show up, build a consistent presence there. Showing up is half the battle. Okay. So if you can find where your target audiences are, show up consistently. I mentioned don't helicopter in. Try to go consistently every single month if they've got. And so you're going to be looking for events that and organizations that host events regularly where you can. I mean, obviously expos and conferences may only be once a year, but look for ones that maybe meet a little bit more often as well, so that you can build that visibility and credibility faster with some of the people that are there. Tell your story. So we're going to work on your messaging in the next module, and you're going to memorize it. And then you will say it the same way every time, at least parts of it, so that it's building word of mouth advertising for you the way that you want to be known. You will be, influencing what people say about you because you will be saying it first rather than just hoping they say nice things about you. And there's different ways to build credibility within these groups. So build a platform. How are you going to showcase yourself as a leader in your industry and stay known among these people? It could be things like writing a white paper, a blog. It could be, sending out a newsletter. Those are all kind of marketing tactics that can back up you showing up in person at these events and reinforce that you are a leader. Is there an opportunity to speak at one of the summits or to be an exhibitor that, gets 5 minutes on the microphone? All of those things contribute to your credibility and to your professional brand and reputation in the market. So business development is all about visibility, credibility, and profitability. Visibility is step one. You are playing the long game as you're building a business. And so people often think that things should happen right away. Like if it hasn't happened already, then it's disappointing. And why aren't people buying from us? And why aren't people investing in us? But visibility leads to credibility, which leads to profitability. You can't skip the first two and get to the third very often. Okay. So remember that, however you can create visibility by showing up, by being consistent, by following up with the people you've met, you are building a reputation. And having staying power and showing that you're consistently showing up and you're coming back month after month, year after year, you will also continue to build your credibility because you're just getting to know people. You're planting seeds. You are, you are building the awareness in the community for what you sell. And eventually people go, oh, that's the person who sells this thing. Oh, you need to meet my friend who does this, or they're looking for this new product line. And I thought of you right away because I already knew you. Right. And, I spent 16 years in a sales and advertising sales career. And I found that because of the reputation I built through that being consistently visible and building my credibility, then when I moved on to start Boost Strategic Coaching, a lot of that followed me into this business and it helped me to be successful faster because I had built that reputation in the market. And that's going to serve you well if you kind of get your mind around that. So how do we do it? Well, essentially we're talking about networking here. That's, build your network. Who can benefit your business and whose business can you benefit? And I know sometimes networking can feel like a dirty word to some people, but if you feel that way, I hope we change that for you during this series. But when somebody says the word networking, many people certainly do kind of have that yucky feeling. And they think, well, I don't want to walk into a room with a bunch of strangers and have to make small talk with them. I don't know what to say, or I'll be left out of conversation and I'll be sitting in the corner alone. It can be that, but not if we have a plan. So later in the series, you are going to learn how to rock it at networking. We have a whole module on that. And we're going to hope you walk away from that module really feeling empowered to do it and to be confident doing it. But for right now, I just wanted to touch on it and why it's so important. Essentially, no matter what business we are in, relationships matter. And relationships are what propel business success forward faster than anything else. A lot of people, when they start a business or start selling something, they think that they can hide behind their computer and simply connect with their audience through online marketing. We strongly suggest that this is not 100% the case. We build business with other humans, and so we need to be with them. Of course, there is a role for advertising to play, and I know that you're working on your advertising, and I know that you've probably done a lot of great things in advertising, but I want you to kind of take away from our time together that sales and marketing go hand in hand, and both are skill sets that you're going to need. And so when you're selling a lower ticket, higher volume product, you will absolutely rely on advertising to create demand and drive traffic and encourage the masses to buy from you. Absolutely. But you also need a sales strategy to build relationships, right? Because how do you get into the stores where people can find you? How do you get that loan? How do you get that investment? How do you get suppliers or packaging people and the wholesalers to rally around you and make it possible to get to your consumers? You need to know how to sell your idea, product, or partnership to them. So I would suggest that the sales process is where we build those crucial relationships, and advertising is where we invite transactions to happen. So I just want you to keep that in mind as we move forward. And a lot of the things that we're going to teach you, we're going to show you how to incorporate them so that the sales and the advertising work together. Zig Ziglar said, if you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. So before you move on to the next module, I really want you to consider who are the niche markets that are going to buy my product? Who am I focusing on? But secondly, who are the top 3 groups of stakeholders that I need to be communicating with at this time in my business? And we're going to use that and we're going to build on it in the next module.